ADP Risers. Alex Pierce, is he a 2022 sleeper? We're here to jump into the latest update on Razzball.com's ADP tool starting right now on the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby LaMarco. Today, we're here to talk about ADP Risers. That's right. We're going to be talking about fellas like Mike Evans and Courtland Sutton. We're going to be talking about who's rising up draft boards based on the latest updates over on Razzball.com. Make sure you're checking out the ADP tool in the description. And make sure you go to Razzball.com to check out all the great articles we got coming out over the last few weeks. And also make sure you're going to check us out on IG and TikTok at Razzball Fantasy. And before I forget, make sure you subscribe. Come on, people, subscribe to the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. We're dropping heat all summer long. Speaking of heat, I'm already sweating, not even 2 minutes in. Finally, make sure you go to Razzball.com to check out the latest articles on the baseball, basketball, hockey, and football side. We're doing a bunch of great things over there as well. Let's bring in to my co-host for today. His name is Sky Guasco. You can find him at Sky Guasco on Twitter, and you also can find his latest and greatest articles up at Razzball.com. What's going on, Sky?
Hey, Bobo, great to be back, man. I'm excited. It's a very comfortable 74 here in Eugene. How's it down south in San Diego?
Oddly hot. Pushed the 80-degree mark. Doesn't sound hot, but man, I live on the second floor. We produce heat here. Plus my hot air with all my hot takes doesn't help either. So it's going to be a fun one. So today's show, we're doing ADP Risers. And one of our assignments today was to take looks at rounds 1 through 5, 6 through 10, and 11 plus to see which guys are rising. And we're each going to talk about a player in those buckets today. However, before we do all that, I want to make sure that people know exactly the players that are rising. A nice full list. So let's start at the top in rounds 1 through 5. Right now today, we have Mike Evans. I'm going to talk about, and Sky, I'm going to need your help. We're going to do a quick buy sell. So you can say buy or sell based on their ADP. I'm going to give you the latest update at ADP. You tell me if you're buying or selling, and then we're going to get into the players we want to talk about in each bucket. Mike Evans, 24th overall.
Buy.
By myself. Saquon Barkley, 24.1 overall.
Not yet. Sell.
Buy. Zeke Elliott, 36th.
Will do. Buy.
Buy as well. Michael Pittman, 37.
Sell for now.
I'm going to push. I like it, but I don't love it. Justin Herbert, 39th.
I mean, that's my man. Buy all day.
I know. I want to buy too. Travis Etienne, 45th.
Also push. If I had to pick one, I'd go buy. It's all about James Robinson.
Yeah, I think I'm going to buy him too at 45th. Mike Williams, 49th.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Buy for me too. Courtland Sutton, 54th.
Yes, sir. That's a buy for me.
I'm going to sell. Marquise Brown, 55th.
For the first 6 weeks, I'll buy it. Probably selling them immediately after that.
Yes, right? I feel the same exact way. Brandon Cooks, 62nd overall.
Fire up Davis Mills. They're both a buy for me.
All right, me too. And Allen Robinson, 63rd overall currently.
I'm back, baby. I was all in last year, got burned, shaking it off. I'm going for it. I'll buy.
Yeah, I'm buying too, actually. So I am into it. So it seems like pretty much across the board, we're buying everybody that's actually rising. So tell us, though, there is one player you want to highlight. Let's get into it.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. And a big reason for this, obviously, there's obvious things here. First of all, he's healthy. He's 2 years removed from an ACL. Lost him in week 2 in 2020, the Joe Flacco situation. Then he had, of course, Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, yada, yada. Then we have Russell Wilson coming over from the Seattle Seahawks. All of those are big pushes. We know that the Denver Broncos were a run-first team the last couple of years, basically based on personnel, QB talent, but also scheme with that offense and the offensive coordinators. I think with Russell Wilson coming in via trade, again, this is not a free agent acquisition. They actually traded for Russell Wilson, won that sweepstakes, bring him in. That's going to be massive. And of course, they're going to be throwing it with Russell Wilson. We know about his deep ball accuracy. Last year, there was a lot of push for Jerry Jeudy over Courtland Sutton because of the type of quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is. He's more of an over-the-middle, lower A-dot quarterback, much better for Jerry Jeudy. Of course, Jerry Jeudy gets hurt early. The Broncos are kind of a mess, especially the first half of the season, so we'll throw that one out. Russell Wilson, though, deep ball targets. We know how good Doug Baldwin was back in the day, Tyler Lockett, and obviously DK Metcalf. So I lean heavily toward Courtland Sutton. A couple stats here for you, Bob. Even in that horrendous offense for the Broncos last year, Courtland Sutton finished 7th in air yards with 1,700. That's coming from two quarterbacks who won't throw downfield and aren't very accurate doing it. He was literally right in between Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf last year in air yards at 7th in the NFL. And now, of course, he gets Russell Wilson. So for me, it's a no-brainer. There's a lot of talk in fantasy. Judy, Sutton, for me, it's not close. I will buy Sutton at his price, and I'm fading Judy right now. Again, coming off of his own injury as well.
So interestingly, I have another guy that I'm actually huge on. It's Mike Williams. I have had a gut feeling about Mike Williams, and then just how things have kind of worked out over the last few months, actually, of research. I'm all in. And the reason why is we talk about the second-year leap. If you haven't listened to me and Sky in the past, passing games take the biggest leap in production in their second year of a scheme. We see this a lot of times. Last year was actually one of the outlier years where it didn't happen because the Giants shit the bed and all this stuff. So overall, though, it is a great time to buy because now you're starting to hear Justin Herbert has a mastery of the offense. He knows things. He can do checks at the offensive line. He's more confident. But look at Mike Williams' journey last year. It was 3 seasons wrapped up in one. Weeks 1 through 5, Mike Williams averaged 23.2 PPR points per game. That would have been wide receiver 2 last year. Okay, we all love him. Then all of a sudden, week 6 to 10, he was horrific. Averaged 5.9. Everybody remembers that. He also had 5 of 6 weeks under 10 fantasy points in PPR. Terrible. Then all of a sudden, in week 11, and I feel like a lot of people forget this, weeks 11 to 18, the last 7 games, he goes back up to 15.3 points per game. That would have been wide receiver 17 last year. The same where he's going essentially right now at wide receiver 19. Now, I thought Mike Williams must have been the problem. However, it wasn't Mike Williams. It was the Chargers passing game. If you look at Justin Herbert's stats, he went from 27 completions a game down to 23 in that week 6 to 10 range. He went from 315 yards down to 242 and 2.6 touchdowns down to 1.5. Now, I know this doesn't sound like a lot, but dropping by a whole touchdown, 70 yards a game, and then 5 less completions is going to impact everybody on the team. So it wasn't just Mike Williams. It looked like the Chargers went through a little bit of a slump. You should expect that. So now that we know he's stabilized for the second half of last year, why can't they take another leap? I want as many Chargers and Bengals players for that matter on my team. So that's why I'm buying Mike Williams. All right, let's go into the next bucket, round 6 through 10. Now, scrolling on the bottom of your screen, Sky, let's do the same exact situation here. We got Darnell Mooney at 70th overall. You buying or selling?
I'm buying Darnell Mooney for sure.
Gabriel Davis at 71st overall.
There's a lot of hype for Gabriel Davis. I'm going to push for now. I might even fade if it gets too crazy, but I do love the player.
Miles Sanders at 75th.
No, never. Fade.
Rashad Bateman at 77th.
I want to believe it, but I got to see what the Ravens do and how healthy Lamar is. I'm going to fade for now.
Tony Pollard at 91.
Sell.
Rashad Penny at 100.
Sell unless I have Zeke. Then I'm reaching for Tony Pollard. Otherwise, I'm not taking him by himself right there. Rashad Penny, again, I think Kenneth Walker's the truth. I'm gonna sell on him as well right now.
Russell Gage at 105.
Yeah, it's a buy for me.
Chase Claypool at 109.
Oof. Love me some George Pickens, Bob. I'm going to sell for now.
Alan Lazard at 112.
Yeah, it's a buy.
Ramajay Stevenson at 115.
Not a chance. Sell.
All right, Sky, tell us who your ADP buy or sell is in the guy you want to talk about, the riser in 6 through 10.
I'm going to do a couple, bury the lead guys. I want to pick Darnell Mooney. I want to pick Rashad Bateman. I want to pick Alan Lazard. There's a lot of guys in this list I want to pick and talk about, but I want to put a little focus on Russell Gage, who is getting some hype in the fantasy world now, but nobody really cared about him until halfway through last season. So I don't want to take too long on this, but let's recap the Falcons a little bit last year. Julio leaves. Okay. Calvin Ridley comes in, plays 5 games. He's gone. Now, obviously, he's suspended. Matt Ryan at the end of his career, you bring in Kyle Pitts. He wasn't really revved up yet either. And then Cordero Patterson plays running back now because Mike Davis didn't pan out. All of that led to a lot of extra work for Russell Gage, who had been the third fiddle for a number of years and played well when stepping up, but never really had a chance to shine. He finally had a 29% target share on the Falcons last year from week 11 on, and he flourished in that offense as best as anyone could. 53% of his snaps were on the outside. A lot of people think of him as strictly a slot receiver, which he was with Julio and Calvin Ridley on the outside. But when those guys were gone, he was able to play the outside and quite well. Also, he had a career high in yards per route run, basically 2 yards per route run. Doesn't sound like a big number, but basically when he's out there, he's running quality routes, right? They're not dummy routes, as you would say. So he leaves Atlanta, goes to a much better offense around him. Now there's many more weapons in Tampa, obviously. However, as of this podcast, Bob, and as of the end of June, it's unfortunately trending that Chris Godwin is not as ready as they thought he would be. He may miss a number of weeks as well. Chris Godwin is another ADP conundrum we're going to have to get to in August when we have more information. As of right now, though, dude, I'm going to fade Chris Godwin in the 5th round I think he's going right now. And I'm going to take Russell Gage in the 8th or 9th. That seems like a huge value. Even if I get 3, 4, 5 number 2 games out of him, Mike Evans, is obviously the number 1. But Tom Brady's going to be looking for that number 2. Russell Gage proved himself. They brought him over on purpose, faded a bunch of younger receivers that they've had out there for a number of years. Obviously, Antonio Brown's gone. As of now, Gronkowski's gone. We'll see what happens there. Brady spreads the ball around as good or better than anybody, probably in NFL history. Everybody eats in his offenses. I like Russell Gage a lot. And there's hype building from where it used to be for him because there was no hype at all last year, but I still think it's low enough where you're going to get a value. And if he becomes AB or Chris Godwin in that volume for 5, 6, 8 games and builds that trust, I really think he has a chance to be like a wide receiver 2 long-term with upside on the weeks, and you're getting him at a steal right now.
And we see Tom Brady do it with 3 receivers anyway, so I wouldn't even be surprised if Godwin's healthy. He's going to be good. So my guy is Alec Lazard. And I kind of have a problem with Allen Lazard mentally right now. I care too much about him, and I don't want to. I want to be like a little bit more reserved, but unfortunately, I am all in. So here's a journey about Allen Lazard's career. I actually have something in the works for a nice feature on him, but starting in 2018, he doesn't sign with. This is all going to be important just shortly, but he signs with the Packers late in December of 2018. Okay, fringe undrafted free agent, played for the Jaguars. He does not play for the Packers that season, so essentially he's been with the Packers 4 full years. That's going to come important in just a second. He gets cut at the before the season of 2019. The reason why he gets signed to the Packers squad, but then gets activated to the 53-man roster, guess what? Davante Adams injury. In those games, his first time on the field with Aaron Rodgers, essentially averaged 4 receptions for 50 yards, replacing Davante Adams. Not too bad for a guy who was just cut prior to the season. Okay, so he finally locks in an actual role. In 2020, he plays 1 game without Davante Adams before he gets hurt because Adams also got hurt. He goes 6 for 146 and 1 in that game as the alpha, playing the role that Davante Adams played. He played that role. Okay. So now I'm starting to see a little thing cooking with Allen Lazard. Last season, if you look at his production, he played 9 games with 1 or more of the guys, either MVS, Randall Cobb, or Davante Adams off the field. And he played 6 games with them on the field as well, all 3 of them. His points per game with all 3 of those wide receivers was 3.8. His points per game when 1 of them missed was 13.3.
Awesome.
Now, that is just to show that his snaps went up 10%. His points per snap went from 0.08 to 0.27. So the best part about Lazard is when he gets on the field, he gets more opportunities, he becomes more efficient. And it shows in his points per game, that huge jump. So I also talk about how, Aaron Rodgers has already said that he's the guy. He's done all the work, hard work. I want him to be the number 1. And I just think that based on what you hear about Christian Watson, he's better suited for the MVS role, at least early on in his career. Then you have Cobb and Hawkins. We're not worried about them. And Lazard makes sense because he's going to his 4th full year and gets the exact amount of years it took Jordy Nelson to hit his stride. People think Jordy Nelson was a stud. He was a bum the first 3 years of his career. His
So
fourth
was
season, he broke
Devontae,
out.
honestly.
Devontae was 3 years, and his fifth year was the year he became the wide receiver one we know and love. So it's this idea that we already know who Lazard is not true. I am all in, especially in the double-digit rounds. He's going at the 9-10 turn. So I absolutely love him there. All right, let's jump down to our last section, picks 11 through 15, rounds 11 plus, essentially. Marlon Mack currently going at 163rd overall. Sky, what do you think? Are you buying or selling?
Razzballers know that I'm a Damian Pierce guy from a few episodes ago, fading Marlon Mack.
All right, Jahan Dotson at 140th.
Liked him a lot better until Terry McLaurin got paid today, so I'm going to fade for now.
MVS at 130.
Kansas City's tough. Also fading. So
your boy, Tyrone Davis-Price at 165.
Not my boy until Jeff Wilson, who's actually my boy, is not in the picture. I'm going to fade Teron now.
Hayden Hurst, 174th.
I don't know yet. Sell.
Darrell Williams at 158.
Sell.
Alex Pierce, 159.
Austin Collie. Anybody ring a bell on that name? I'll buy Alec Pierce.
Tim Patrick at 141.
Oh, Timmy Metcalf. I already secured the hashtag a few months ago. I secured the hashtag. I'll take Timmy Patrick for sure.
Jamison Crowder at 160.
I know it's your boy, one of your OGs. I'm going to fade him, though.
Zach Wilson at 166.
It's a buy for me.
Rondale Moore at 135.
Again, if at all, 6 weeks. But he's not DK Metcalf, or he's not Debo, and that's what everyone wants him to be. I'll sell probably.
All right. So who's the guy that you want to talk about in this range that you think people need to know more about, the ADP riser?
In the year plus that Zach Wilson's been in the NFL and I've been covering these shows, I don't think I've mentioned him more than 3 times, and I've definitely never done a player profile on him. I dug into it a little bit deeper here, and I am excited. Really quick, look, rookie season, Jets are a mess last year, a lot of moving parts, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, yada, yada. The kid's going from Utah, where he went to school, into New York City, New Jersey. The markets eat him up, right, if he's not successful. He also had COVID. He got injured. His running backs went down. His wide receivers got hurt. No chance to succeed for Zach Wilson year 1. However, year 2, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Throw a couple stats at you real quick and a couple nerd stats here. Accuracy rating, his overall actual accuracy on his throws, not whether the wide receiver caught the ball or not whether they got yards after catch, nothing. Him throwing the ball to where it landed in relation to where the wide receiver was. He was 12th in the NFL last year. His metric is 7.8. Anybody in the NFL with a metric of 8 out of 1 to 10 is considered very accurate. He had 7.8. I like the accuracy overall. Another one coming at you, deep ball accuracy, 20 yards or further, number 5 overall in the NFL of all quarterbacks. Number 5 among quarterbacks. He had red zone accuracy, number 10. Dropped passes in the NFL, 3rd most drop passes by Jets wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. That's not going to help any quarterback. This kid has a long way to go to be that number 2 pick and carry a franchise and turn the Jets franchise around. That's been terrible for a decade plus. However, I think he can do it. They've made moves. Garrett Wilson, who we love, came in, obviously. Elijah Moore. They have running backs, Breece Hall, yada, yada. Upgraded the offensive line, tight ends. Still have Corey Davis. Sleeper for me, man. In super flex leagues, Zach Wilson's going to be a guy I might reach for my, definitely my 3rd quarterback, maybe a late round 2nd quarterback. And in single quarterback leagues, I feel comfortable him among other guys waiting. 15th, 16th round. Oh yeah, I need a quarterback and I could take Zach Wilson. I feel okay about it.
All right. I mean, I actually don't mind. He has an underrated 3 receiver set, probably under, maybe even top 5 if those guys really emerge early on.
Last thing here on Zach Wilson, Bob. I had mentioned this previously in the Garrett Wilson episode. The Jets surprisingly threw the ball on the 3rd most opportunities last year. So their play percentage of run and pass, they had the 3rd most pass percentage per play last year, up there with the Buccaneers, Chargers, Chiefs, those type of teams. So he's not those quarterbacks, but the scheme is trying. So I'll take a shot on Zach Wilson.
All right. I'm actually going to talk about Alex Pierce. And for some reason, I decided to be a little negative, folks. Sorry, I am not buying him. Here's a little stats that I think are interesting. So inspired by JJ Zacharyson, go check out his podcast. He did something on rookie wide receivers, and it kind of drove me to do my own research. So I looked at the last 5 years of hit rates for wide receivers, rookies versus veterans in the same range. So it's not, yes, there is no rookies being drafted in the first 5 rounds. So I looked at essentially rounds 5 to 10, 11 to 15, and looked at every wide receiver. What I found is the hit rate for receivers, rookie receivers going after round 10 is so low. It's not good. It's actually 33% have actually even hit double digits in fantasy. So 1/3 of the receivers just hit double-digit fantasy points, which isn't even good in PPR. That's like a low-end wide receiver for top 50 fringe kind of receiver in that format. So that's the first thing. The second thing is Paris Campbell. I can't get over him. I feel like I have a sickness at this point, but he continues to be the OTA minicamp superstar, and then he gets hurt in the preseason and he's done for the year and plays 2 games. But this guy has earned his way into 2 receiver sets. He's playing ahead of Alec Pierce already. And I understand that, yes, he's the rookie. It's going to take time, and we'll see what actual camps look like. But I believe Paris Campbell, a second rounder in his own right, is someone that I have rather track later in drafts. Finally, look at the rookies under the head coach head coach. I can't remember his name. Frank Wright. There you go. History with rookie wide receivers. This is what happens when I overheat. I start losing my mind. I can't remember Frank Wright's name. What's wrong with me? Michael Pittman, his rookie season, wide receiver 79. Paris Campbell, of course, got hurt. You have to go all the way back to Keenan Allen, back in his Charger days, where he finished wide receiver 18. So it does happen. It has happened before. Rookie wide receivers with Matt Ryan. Harry Douglas, 85. Julio Jones, 22. Calvin Ridley, 20. So it has happened. He is so I do see that if Alec Pierce does take over into 2 receiver sets, I will buy. However, I'm going to sell for now. I actually think Paris Campbell is the better bet later in drafts. All right, folks, that's all we got for today. This is the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, like, and also hit the bell to make sure you get all the updates on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. Make sure you also go check us out on IG and TikTok at Razzball Fantasy. And also make sure you go to Razzball.com. Check out the latest articles for every sport that you need. Once again, I'm your host, Bobby LaMarco. Make sure you go follow that man, Sky Guasco, at Sky Guasco on Twitter. And also find out all his great articles that are coming out right now on Razzball.com. But that's all we have for today, folks. We are out of here.